Druids are about to receive one of the biggest nerfs in Clash of Clans history, and in today's video we're going to show you that the Druids still may be useful after this nerf, and also talk about why nerfs are so common in Clash of Clans and why it's not a bad thing. If you go in game right now and to the news tab at the bottom right of the screen, you will see upcoming changes, balance changes to the Druid. Now, I'm not going to read out all of this. If you'd like to read it out, you can go in game. But essentially, they're trying to get these changes in before the Clan War Leagues start. And look at the changes. This is huge. This is some of the biggest nerfs we've ever seen. So the healing, 110 down to 65 at level 1. At max level 140, sorry, down to 80. It's nearly a 50% healing nerf, which is crazy, but it's not just the healing. We also get a little less time before it evolves, and the bear gets a massive nerf. It is actually 50% across all levels in terms of HP. So even when the Druid evolves, it's not going to be tanking as much for your army as the bear was previously. Now, was a nerf needed? Yes, the Druid is unbelievably strong, and it's kind of in a game-breaking way in the sense that your base is useless. You spend so much of your resources upgrading all of your defenses, and even if you've got a Rage Tower with insane damage, the Druid with the Rage Gem can out-heal, and it's not very satisfying if you're putting all this loot. It's like with the Root Riders and the walls. You're putting all the loot into your walls, but they do nothing against the Root Riders. Same with your defenses. Even if you've got a Rage Tower, you can't out-heal a Druid. So I'm sure the question a lot of you are asking is, will the Druid still be useful, particularly in this Super Witch Fireball attack strategy that's been so strong? And I think the answer is yes, it just won't be anywhere near as overpowered. Let's have a look at this attack here. Now, this is still on the version of the game where Druids do 140 heal per second, but you'll notice my Warden does not have the Rage Gem, and I'm not going to use any rage spells in this attack, so the Druids are locked at doing 140 healing per second, whereas in the new version of the game that's coming up, the Druids, because you're going to use them inside the Rage Gem, will be doing 120 heal per second, but then they'll go up to about 200 if you include the Rage Spell as well, because the Rage Spell, it doesn't add on top of the Rage Gem, but the Rage Spell is like 180 extra percent. So yeah, we'll be just over 200 healing. So the healing power in this attack will be far less than, will be less than you'll see post-update. A little bit more when I'm not, a little bit more when you wouldn't use a rage spell, and a little bit less when you are. Anyway, so we get a nice fireball in there. We're using the Siege Barracks and the Queen on the right-hand side. And here we come in with the Super Witches, get targeted immediately, and the Druids are going to be coming on to get them nice and healed up. Now, what do I think of this change? I just think it was kind of needed. Maybe not to this extent, but it's worth noting that, you know, that few content creators I've seen have said that you don't really notice the nerf as much as you think you would for a nerf that is this strong. So we're coming into the core of the base here. Rage Towers are going crazy. And look at this. We've still got our 3 Super Witches here. And look, I do have a lot of Druids. I think there are 6. Okay, there's 4 Druids on them at the moment. But that's not, you know, that unusual, and we are going through the high DPS part of the base, and look at this, still got all of our Super Witches up. Now this is where the attack starts to struggle, going through the Town Hall Poison, because our troops aren't outputting that much damage. Obviously when you've got the Rage Gem, your Super Witches are also outputting more damage, same as the big boys. So it's not a perfect test here. We are going to fall just short. It ends up nearly being a time fail here because the Royal Champion can just about clear the rest of the base. Now I did try this hit on a double Poison Tower base as well, and yeah, we got the triple on that pretty easily. It's very much just these bases that do an insane amount of DPS that is an issue, but you can see I'm swagging still 2 rage spells. I don't know why I haven't used my poison spell. Oh, that's because I took down the CC. But as you can see, we are going to get pretty close on this one despite everything. So is the troop dead? No, but I think the most important thing is, and same with everything, don't knock the balance changes until you try it yourself, because you never know. And I'm going to show you in the next attack that if you think the Druid's dead forever, doesn't mean this army is dead. We're going to use healers instead. Now we're going to show a Super Witch Fireball attack but with 5 healers instead. And we're actually able to bring a 4th Super Witch with this army comp, which is nice. And obviously the Warden Walk's going to be much easier. And whilst this is going on, I want to talk to you guys about nerfs on new troops and how it isn't actually a bad thing. In fact, it's a healthy part of a solid game. Now, there are limits to that. Clash Royale is a good example of that, but I kind of like how Clash of Clans has done it. So let's go back to January, right? We got this new Root Rider that came out at the end of December. It has 8,000 hit points, and with the Apprentice Warden in the state that it was, it effectively had 10,400 hit points. But despite that, the strongest part of the game was the Gauntlet glitch, where it was invincible, and a lot of the time, people were getting 3 stars just because the Gauntlet got them over the line, not because the Root Rider was broken. And even in February, when the Root Rider Valk army comes out, you're not seeing 320 on your log that much. You're still able to defend the army here and there. Whereas you look at your log now, and Root Riders are still tripling a lot despite being nerfed extremely hard. Now, why is that? It makes no sense. The Root Rider had 10,400 hit points at the start of the year, and somehow the hit rate is lower when it has 10,000 hit points than when it's now down to, I think it's effectively below 9,000. It's in like the mid 8,000 hit points. That makes no sense. How is that? Well, it's all to do with player skill and understanding how to use new troops. When the Root Rider came out, and same with the Druid as well, no one knew how to use the troops. No one knew how to get the most value out of it. So when Supercell brings new troops into the game, they have to make them really strong. Because if they're not really strong, you guys aren't going to use them. Because you have to learn a whole new set of skills, which is difficult in of itself. And none of us really know accurately the best way to use it. However, the longer the troop gets into the game, the better and better players get at using the troops, and the value they can get out of the troops is much higher. And the Druid's another great example of that, same as the Root Rider. People didn't know how to use the Druids at the start, but as soon as they figured it out, the Druid's really quite broken at the moment, and it needs the nerf. And I see a lot of people have been complaining, it's like, oh, Supercell being greedy again, nerfing. It's not a bad thing. To get you to use the new troops, they have to make them strong. But once everyone figures out how to use it, it needs a nerf. Not because the troop stats have gotten stronger, but because we've gotten stronger, and the game needs to reflect that by nerfing it a little bit. So, yes, if they were doing kind of what Clash Royale does, and they nerf it before everyone's able to use it, that's a problem. But what Clash of Clans is doing is giving people the chance to use it, and then by the time the average player has kind of mastered it, then the nerf comes in. And for me, that is much healthier than the comment section of Reddit, YouTube, and Twitter would suggest. Anyway, if you disagree with that opinion, fair enough, you're entitled to your own. I just wanted to put that out there because I see a lot of these nerfs get a lot of hate, and some of them deserve, not hate, but deserve disagreement from the player population. But I think this one might end up being spot on, despite being one of the biggest nerfs ever. Anyways, if you want to see all the best strategies post this nerf, make sure you subscribe to the channel. I'll release a video in a couple of days with Warden Charged Rocket Balloons. Yet again, this Fireball army didn't get nerfed, and it remains strong.